Hey everybody, this is Sally Griffin, aka Millionaire Yogi, and I help visionaries become world-changing influencers. And we're talking about the topic of influence, which is an amazingly deep subject. And the topic today is how you can ignite the spark but don't own the flame. And what do I mean by that? When you think about influence, maybe you're one of the influencers who has a bigger cause, bigger than you. And the world of influence is not always about ownership. How I see it is that ideas are dropping onto the planet at any given time. There's this feeling of an evolution happening in our world. And we've seen it, for as long as we've been alive, and it will carry on moving forward no matter what. And so when you're experiencing that you had an idea, like, boom, you've suddenly woken up, you've got this amazing idea, and say you write it down and you go out, you want to get a book published, and then you realize that somebody's already just published a book on that. Has that ever happened to you? Or even you were about to do a video about something and somebody's already done that. Or you're a musician, or you're a filmmaker, and somebody's already just done that. Well, there's no problem with that happening. The problem only occurs when we start to restrict the feelings that we get and think that we own that we own that idea. And the way that I believe the world operates on an evolutionary scale is these ideas are dropping down at any given time, all over the place, all over the planet. Different cultures, different genders are picking it up. And if you are in tune with your own flow and you then do something with that idea, so in other words, you don't put it away for a rainy day, you really tap in deeply to how important that piece of knowledge is, and you get it out, then you will be one of many people who are moving that idea forward. Now, in traditional business forms and terms and old school business, that was taught to us that we should own something, like patent it, get the rights to it, own the film to it, the book, the film, the manual, the whatever, and repurpose it forever, and it's ours. But in the world of influence, which is a very different set of values coming into play, especially with this particular theme, say the idea, and I know this one because I ran a festival, a yoga festival for 3 years, and I was the key person in the running of it who put forward the idea of having a plastic-free festival. And so we got people to sign contracts, so the vendors couldn't bring any plastic in, they couldn't hand out plastic bags. Do you think that's my idea? Really? Do you think I had the audaciousness to think that was my idea? Actually, I didn't. But what I wanted to do was I wanted something much bigger. We've seen the festivals in Britain, and I'm sure the same is true all over the world, that they leave tons, literally tons, the weight of trash. And it's all plastic bottles and tents and various plastic things, and nobody really does a good cleanup job. So though the small festival that I was involved with was small, we knew that the ideas behind it were so potent that we were going to make a stand 100% plastic free. And what happened was, in year 2, a competitor cropped up, a competitor festival in old terms, and they had no plastic policy. And I remember that there was a communal conversation around that they may have some good ideas, which they do, but they had nothing around that. By the second year that they ran, they felt the pressure of us for sure, because I knew that the founding members were following me, and they were following the conversations I was having on Instagram. And they put out a statement of that they were going to be 90% plastic free. And of course, when I heard that, I thought, 90% is a complete cop-out. It's not all bad, so don't get me wrong, but it's like me 90% saying I love you, 90%. You'd be freaking out if you were my partner, and there's a 10% that we're not handling there. And the same was true. I had the conversation quite publicly, not as a shaming conversation, but just to urge people that when you're saying something, like, really go for it. So what happened was, by the year 3, they put out a very strong, sustainable message. And they really had to clean up their act, you know, and they're still not 100% plastic free. But our little festival, by being so determined and putting in measures that people had to lose deposits if they were found to be handing out plastic forks, was an instance that happened. We then affected definitely the London scene. I could see the effects cropping up all over the place. And if it was all about me and my ego and my plastic, like it's my idea, then I would have shut off a level of business or communication or whatever it was that I was doing. In fact, my festival never continued, right? There was a business decision to step out of it, but the plastic-free message went on much longer than my particular business interest in it. It's in my life. I see it cropping up all over the place. Now think about something that's of great importance to you. When it is an evolutionary idea, like its idea is of its time, and I talk a lot about perfect timing, like it's the perfect time for plastic free to come into being, then what we don't want is somebody who just kind of owns that one aspect of it and says, oh, the deal is done, the business is done. What we want is like a wave of it. And when you start to see influence like that, it's so interesting because you are part of a wave. You're part of an evolution. You can tie it into various different things that you do, different messages. And it doesn't mean that you own it. It means that you've been part of igniting a spark, or in many cases, many sparks actually. And it's a bigger thinking, in operation. So when you tap into people who are involved in the environment, or they wanted to do good causes, they don't want to own the right for women's education in Africa. It's ludicrous. It's more like you want to be part of something. And that's really the whole community movement, and it's how you can start a movement. And it's one really important aspect of influence. So when you join me next time, I'm going to be talking about a slightly different angle on influence. And you can ask yourself this: is there something that's dear to your heart that you are just part of the evolution of? You know, is that something that you really feel like, hey, you see a group out there, all of whom are doing it, and you want your business to also reflect that as well? That can be super powerful. You can become a super powerful influencer in that way. So I want to invite you to the next one, which is, the topic is, it's called A Movement is Always Moving. And then my question to you again is, have you thought about a change that you'd like to see in the world? Have you actually thought about the kind of influence you'd like to exert? We talked last time about Apple, you know, with their topic of think different, changing the industry itself. Or is it more like this one today, that you feel like there's an evolution that you're stepping into and you're part of it, and you're part of a community who are moving towards a greater end, and you're just a little cog, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's like you're running, I think of it as you're running a relay race. You have the baton, you pass it to somebody else, they carry it on. You may not be alive to see the results of the amazing influence that you put into place, but that will lead us to another topic in this series, which is all around legacy. So I'd love to hear what you're up to and what change you'd like to put into place. And if you'd be interested, please respond to the email that this video has been sent out in. Just send back a message and tell me what you're involved with in your influence, and let's cause some influence on this planet. and beautiful to see you. And if you want to get in touch with me more directly, please check me out. I'm either at Millionaire Yogi. There's my website, millionaireyogi.guru, Guru, or you can find me on Facebook or in my private Facebook group, which is called When Business is Pleasure. Okay? And see you next time. Namaste. So much love.